This is Optimal Living Daily, episode 342, How to Deal with Rejection by Ramit Sethi of I'llTeachYouToBeRich.com, and I'm Justin Malik. Welcome to OLD, or OLD, where I act as your very own personal narrator of amazing blogs covering personal development and minimalism, mostly, from really amazing authors, who I'm still really surprised gave me permission. It's been pretty awesome how generous these authors are. They're already sharing their content for free on the web and taking the time to write it all, which is not easy. I've done it. And then letting me read it to you. It's really cool that they're okay with that, so big thanks to the authors on the show. And today's author is Ramit Sethi, who I haven't read in a while actually, although he's frequently read over on Optimal Finance Daily, so you can check out some posts from him over there. But anyway, let's jump right into the post on rejection as we optimize your life. How to Deal with Rejection by Ramit Sethi of I'llTeachYouToBeRich.com. Rejection sucks. It feels lousy to put yourself out there just to be crushed. When I was in college, I decided to teach a free class about personal finance and invited everyone I knew. No one showed up. Dealing with that rejection stuck with me for years. I was afraid to throw events even after I wrote a New York Times bestselling book and had hundreds of thousands of readers. But over the years, I've learned to overcome those fears and even love rejection. Dealing with rejection in 3 steps. Today, I'm going to show you how with my 3 steps for dealing with rejection. Step 1, let rejection excite you. Step 2, plan for failure. Step 3, consider the source. Step 1, let rejection excite you. Here's a counterintuitive truth about rejection. It can be exciting. Most people don't see it that way. They give up the moment they're first rejected. But that is exactly why dealing with rejection is so exciting. The moment you experience rejection and decide to push through anyway, you automatically separate yourself from 99% of the people out there who got rejected and chose to quit. My former editor and friend, Jay Cross, creator of DIY Degree, calls this concept the continuum of doers. The idea behind the continuum of doers is you are never competing with everyone who enters a competition. Every obstacle makes lazy or uncommitted people drop out, leaving you to compete with a tiny handful of true winners at the top. From this perspective, we see that rejection is merely an obstacle most people never even try to overcome. But you can both overcome rejection and keep yourself from experiencing more of it in the future. Here's how. First, pinpoint what the reason was that led to you being rejected. Did you email your resume to a hiring manager and never hear back? Were you unable to get a second date after the first one fell flat? Did a client hire somebody else after you missed a deadline? Once you've identified any trouble spots, you can work to systematically improve yourself in those areas. Using the examples above, we can learn how to write a killer resume, practice what to say on a date, or plan ahead and create a project calendar for the client. If we do these things, then our chances of succeeding shoots through the roof the next time around. We'll not only overcome rejection, but easily breeze past the barriers that have held us back. Step 2, plan for failure. When I was applying to colleges, I noticed something interesting. A lot of the people I knew were applying to top schools, and if they were rejected, they'd say, "Whatever, I didn't want to go there anyway." What? I remember thinking, if you didn't want to go, then why'd you apply? And if you did want to go, why give up so easily? I fully expected to get rejected from my dream school, Stanford. That's why I outlined a plan of specific actions I'd take to get in even after they rejected me. I was going to send them updates on my coursework, my copywriting business, and press clippings of articles I wrote. Getting a no was only the first step of the process. That's how it is in other areas of life as well, from selling to dating to business to just about anything. We need to expect failure and plan what we'll do when rejection comes. That's exactly what top performers do. We all face a fear of failure. It's how you manage the fear of failure that determines your success. Step 3, consider the source. A problem my students sometimes face is criticism from people who don't understand why they are trying to improve their lives. They'll hear things like, "What are you doing trying to get your dream job? You should just be happy for the job you have." Of course, that's usually coming from the guy 4 cubicles down who's been stuck in the same crappy job for 25 years. When you get negative feedback, first consider the person it's coming from. Then ask yourself, is this someone I should listen to? Is it someone I admire and respect? Or just a random critic who enjoys cutting people down and doesn't know what the hell he's talking about? As someone who's received thousands of hateful comments and emails over the years, I'll be the first to tell you that most people love to offer criticism, but not solutions. Don't bother listening to those people. You just listened to the post titled How to Deal with Rejection by Ramit Sethi of I'llTeachYouToBeRich.com. And I'm glad he brought up the fear of failure because that's what I kept thinking about as I was reading this. It's very similar to the fear of rejection. And being an entrepreneur for, pretty much all of my life, but more of a professional entrepreneur for about 10 years now, there have been so many failures with my ventures. It's the fun of being an entrepreneur. It's a constant roller coaster. One day is up, another is down. Not even days, it can be hourly or down to the minute. And one day there could be a huge up and then the next minute an immediate down. But the failures are what I learned from. And it's important to see them that way, otherwise entrepreneurship can be a complete nightmare. We always hear the success stories in the news, like Instagram selling for $1 billion. But did you know what those guys were doing before creating Instagram? They were failing with a different app. And that's the same story with every entrepreneur. There's always some failure, some big failures. It's a requirement, and that's the only way we learn and get better. But defining it as that, a failure is bad, really. Whether you're an entrepreneur or not, you got to see it for what it really is, a requirement for improvement. It's like Thomas Edison said, I've not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. All right, that's enough of my take. If you're new here, I usually don't give my 2 cents, but sometimes the articles get me going. So moving on, if you want to help support this show, you can contribute financially, or if you're not in a position to do that, I totally understand. You can still show support another way. There's a little list of things you can do to help at oldpodcast.com/support. I'd really appreciate it if you could visit and contribute in any of those ways. And that wraps up today's episode. Thank you so much for listening through to the end, and I'll see you in the Friday show where your optimal life awaits.
Hey, this is Dan from the Optimal Finance Daily podcast, which is a lot like this show, except more focused on personal finance. Justin handpicks the best posts he can find from blogs and authors like Ramit Sethi, Mr. Money Mustache, and more, and I read them to you 5 days a week. So if you enjoy this podcast, come on over and subscribe to Optimal Finance Daily too. And together, we'll optimize your financial life.
You've been listening to Optimal Living Daily. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on each new episode and head to oldpodcast.com. That's OLDpodcast.com for a free gift as well as more actionable tips and resources to help you maximize your potential. Thanks for joining us, and remember, your optimal life awaits.